The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Velvar rose and activated the central holographic array. Light gathered above the dais and hardened into the image of a massive beast. 17 alien delegations leaned toward the display, some curious, some openly eager. Velvar had described the session as educational material about predator danger levels. Everyone in the room understood it was really a chance for the older members to remind the newcomers what they had survived. Lieutenant Commander Jack Morrison of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps sat alone at the human table, arms relaxed, back straight, surrounded by towering reptiles, glittering arthropods, and gas creatures drifting in harnesses. He looked like the least threatening being present. A faint smile sat at the corner of his mouth. When the Christians had asked every applicant species for apex predator profiles, he had known something like this was coming. The hologram sharpened into a 4-meter monster from Krisha, armor plates overlapping along its body, venomous limbs flexing as it advanced. The Skalniks, Velvar said through the translator mesh. Apex predator of Krisha. Dissolves prey with acid. Cuts through armor with its primary mandibles. Brief scenes showed the creature charging soldiers, tearing through ground vehicles, shrugging off weapons fire. We hunted them, Velvar finished, to near extinction over 3 centuries of war. Approving sounds rippled around the chamber. Surviving something like that was a credential everyone respected. The image shifted to an ocean of dark water. A huge shape slid across the screen, jaws opening to show rings of teeth. The deep maw, said Delegate Ninether of Thesha Prime, 15 meters of hunting instinct. Our ancestors mustered the seas by outhinking these leviathans. Velvar seeded the floor, and, one by one, other species presented their nightmares. Forest shadows that hunted by sound. Desert pack beasts that ran down anything that moved. Camouflaged creatures that could vanish against living crystal. Each story followed the same pattern. A terrifying animal, a long struggle, a young species that refused to die and eventually claimed the top of its food chain. The message did not need to be spoken aloud. The Galactic Council was a club of survivors who had fought their way to dominance against nature's worst designs. Joining meant recognizing that history. When the last hologram faded, Velvar turned toward the human table. His mandibles curled in what Morrison had learned to read as a smug smile. And now, Lieutenant Commander Morrison, Velvar said, perhaps you will show us humanity's most dangerous predator. The creature that forged your kind in the fires of survival. Morrison rose. At just over 6 feet, he did not tower over anyone. But there was a steadiness in his movements that made several delegates focus on him more closely. He walked to the central podium, set his datapad on the controls, and glanced around the room before speaking. You know, he said, his voice carried smoothly by the translators. Those were excellent presentations. Very dramatic, very well produced. A few delegates emitted pleased sounds. But I think we can skip the monster hologram for this one. He tapped his datapad. The central display filled with text instead of a creature, a list of species names, with figures beside each. These are Earth's apex predators, Morrison said. Saltwater crocodile, great white shark, polar bear, Bengal tiger, African lion, grizzly bear, Killer whale. Every one of them can kill an unarmed adult human without much trouble. Curious murmurs spread across the chamber. Velva's mandibles clicked once. Then surely, the Christian said, "One of these is the creature that shaped your evolution." "Oh, I'm not done," Morrison replied, now openly amused. "Here's the thing about Earth. We didn't have one apex predator. We had many, all at once. Different ones in the oceans, on the plains, in the forests, in the ice. Dozens of major predators, hundreds if you count local species, thousands if you include the extinct." He nodded at the list. "And humans aren't on it." The murmurs rose. Several delegates glanced at aides as if expecting the translator to correct itself. "We're not apex predators," Morrison said. "We're generalists. Too slow to outrun most prey, too weak to overpower big animals. No real claws, average teeth. No venom, no armor. Our one natural advantage is endurance. We do persistence hunting. We just keep going until whatever we're chasing gives up." Delegate Ninth's tentacles lifted in surprise. "Then how did your species survive long enough to reach spaceflight?" their translator asked. Morrison's eyes brightened. "We changed the rules," he said. "We made friends with the monsters." He tapped his datapad again. The list vanished, replaced by an image of a grey wolf, muzzle lifted in a howl beneath a full moon. "About 15,000 years ago," Morrison said, "some of our ancestors formed bonds with wolves. Pack hunters, social, intelligent, used to working within a hierarchy. A natural fit for us. We domesticated them and bred them. Today we have hundreds of dog breeds, from animals that pull sleds across frozen seas to others small enough to carry in one hand." Images flipped past. A German shepherd in a working harness beside armored officers. A golden retriever surrounded by children. A husky teen racing across snow. "And we didn't stop there," he went on. "We domesticated horses and rode them into battle. We trained hawks and falcons to hunt. We brought small predators into our homes so they would keep vermin away from our food. We turned wild cattle into herds and bred dogs to manage them. We didn't just defeat predators. We hired them, trained them, and built our civilizations with their help." The chamber was quiet now, but not in boredom. The attention felt sharper, the curiosity edged with caution. "On Earth," Morrison said, "we looked at every ecosystem and asked, how can this help us? How can we shape it? We didn't win through natural weapons. We won by adapting, by making tools, by cooperating with each other and with other species, by turning threats into allies." He brought up a final image, a human astronaut drifting against the black of space. Earth a blue curve behind them. "You asked about Earth's most dangerous predator," he said more softly. "It isn't one animal. It's a species that looked at every predator on its world and said, I can work with that. A species that turned competitors into partners, and partners into family." Velva's translator produced an uneasy laugh. "Commander, you exaggerate. These are domesticated creatures." Morrison's expression cooled. "Want proof?" he asked. "We can arrange a demonstration. I can have a military working dog brought here. German shepherd, about 40 kilograms. Understands dozens of commands and hand signals. Loyal enough to die protecting its handler. Strong and fast enough to put an adult human on the ground in under 3 seconds. He let that hang for a beat. And we let animals like that sleep near our children. The chamber went very still. Later, as delegates filed out in low conversation, Velvar approached the human table. "That demonstration?" he asked, mandibles clicking. "You were not joking." Morrison raised another image on his datapad. A human soldier in Earth uniform knelt beside an alert German shepherd, hand resting on the dog's shoulders. Both looked into the camera with the same calm, focused expression. "That's my daughter, Lieutenant Emily Morrison," he said, "and her partner, Rex, stationed on Lunar Base. I could have them here in 5 days." Velvar studied the picture, then clicked his mandibles in concession. "Perhaps such a demonstration will not be necessary." "We accept your point, Commander. Glad to hear it," Morrison said, offering his hand. After a heartbeat, Velvar clasped it. The next day, humanity's application for full Galactic Council membership passed without a single vote against.